What made you straight up nope out of a relationship? She picked me because I had the same first name, general appearance, and lived in the same area of the state as her ex-fiancé of 2 years, that she had just been dumped by a month before we met. I felt even more offended about all that than just being straight up rejected. Ah yes, because when you can't have the person you want, just pick the next best thing. Married for 6 years. Started out thinking she was just struggling with depression and anxiety sometimes, but things kept escalating. I walked away when she started threatening to stab me in my sleep. We had already tried several couples therapists and individual therapists, but she refused to consider medication. I called her to meet up and try to find some closure, but she cut me off, telling me I wasn't allowed to leave her, and as punishment she was sleeping with 2 other guys. At that point I just ignored her and filed for divorce. Hope she's doing well, but glad to not be afraid for my life. See, I think it's very common for people when they are either very desperate or the person they're with is very hot to just be like, oh, I don't mind if they're mentally ill, I don't mind if they're crazy, I could be happy regardless. But that's gonna catch up with you eventually. She told me she was on birth control. Turns out she thought drinking a lot of Mountain Dew would make it so she couldn't get pregnant. Now that's probably not true, but what's more likely is that a guy who drinks way too much Mountain Dew is probably never gonna get a girl pregnant. She wanted our relationship to be exclusive, but secret. Ah yeah, that's always fun. I really like you, I just don't want to be seen together. Lady stayed the night for the first time, then started taking pictures of my house the next morning and posting them on social media. She put my bedroom, living room, and master bath on, and I was like, what are you doing? She said, I want everyone to see your place. I said, let me take you home. I told her I didn't like that she did that. Then she complained on social media how I was petty for not liking her posting my house. Then called me up to go out again. I was just astonished she thought I would be like, post my house, speak ill of me, and come on back. That was one night. Nope. Well, I hope you at least got to go to her house and take a bunch of pictures. It's only fair. After our first date, she sent me a Google Maps pin of my address with just, haha, as the only context. I hadn't told her my address. Then followed it up with asking how my boss was doing by using his first name. I hadn't mentioned the name of anyone from my work. That level of stalker made me pull the eject handle real quick. Hey, that just means she's a very good listener. She can even listen to your thoughts. Followed me to a night out. Got on his knees, stopping traffic in the middle of a city center street to declare his love. We had been on 2 dates. He also told me that same night he could see into the future and already knew he was going to die defending my honor while I was carrying our twins. Yeah, he was fun. Like, alright, come on. I understand sometimes you can be really into a person, but all you gotta do is just keep it cool for like at least a few months before you start doing stuff like this. You do this on the second date and it looks crazy. You do this 2 months after the second date and you might be okay. He didn't have a car, so I'd help him with rides to work. He worked 3rd shift at Toys R Us stocking shelves. I picked him up one night and he was so drunk he could barely stand. I made some comment about how he isn't going to be able to work. He started throwing stuff at me in the parking lot. I threw his stuff on the ground and left him there. I've dealt with one too many alcoholics and I wasn't wasting any more of my time. Cut to 5 years later, he's now sober and getting married this year, so good for him. See, just like a job, it's nice to have the leverage in the relationship, because if you rely too much on the other person, then you have much more to lose. I dated this girl who was jealous, and I mean super jealous. I couldn't hang out with my friends without her constantly calling me. Obviously, I couldn't do the same, because how could I be jealous? That would have meant I didn't trust her. That's annoying enough to end a relationship, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. After 9 months, I found out from one of my friends, who also happened to be a close friend of hers, that she had been hiding her sexuality to me. She was actually bi. At first, I didn't really get why she did that, because I have absolutely no problem with these things. Mutual friends then told me around she was going around doing other chicks. So basically, she was hiding her bisexuality so that she could do stuff with any girl she wanted to, without me even suspecting anything. Sometimes she even had threesomes with the girls' boyfriends. When I told her I knew everything, she started telling me that she didn't want me to know because those other people didn't really matter for her and she didn't love them. Needless to say, I noped out of there. See, I never understand people's logic when they're like, I'm so obsessed with you, I'm so attached, you better not leave me, you better not go out with anyone else. But I also might go play around with some other people. 2 weeks after my mother died, he asked, is that still bothering you? Yeah, just come on, get over it, it's over now. She wanted to get married after the first date. Well, this might sound a little crazy, but over here in Utah, that's actually not super uncommon. I had a huge crush on her for a while, but never had the opportunity to talk to her, given our weird work schedules. Then a friend from work sets us up. I was elated. First date goes really well, and we hit it off. We start spending as much time as we can around each other, talking on the phone every night. all the special things you do when you're starting a new relationship. Then she starts coming over more often, unannounced. She would stay for a couple nights, then a week, then 2 weeks. I would come home from work and she would be in my house, sometimes drunk. Thing was, she had been fired for an incident involving alcohol before, and was lying to them about her sobriety. She would have a few too many, then go off about her family, or how I wasn't taking our 2-month relationship serious enough. Final straw dropped on Valentine's Day this year. She gets annihilated to the point of not being able to walk on her own. After I refuse her drunk advances, she flips out. What followed was a couple hours of her threatening to drive home drunk, sitting outside so the cold weather would freeze her to death, laying in my bed and wailing my name till hoarse, and alternating between manic laughter and crying. 2 days later, once she sobered up, I told her to kick rocks. We dated for just around 3 months. Quickest turnaround ever for me in a relationship. Yeah, something I've kind of thought about is like, let's say you're in a relationship and you're not really enjoying it, but you don't want to break the heart of the other person. Like, you don't want to just go up and say like, hey, I don't want to be together, because they're still attached to you, they still want to be with you. But what if you just like sort of gradually just became more and more unlikable? And then after a couple weeks of that, then you say, let's just end it. Then they're just like, yeah, I want to end it with you too. I mean, I'm sure there are problems with it, but it seems like a good idea. She kept waking me up over and over all night trying to have an argument with me. The argument was about me going to sleep. Are you sure that's not just a cat? After maybe 2 years of him constantly trying to make me jealous, we temporarily had a 16-hour time difference and I was traveling home to see my grandparents. When I was asleep for maybe 7 hours, because, well, it was nighttime, and I had not responded to his 50 texts, he finally said he was going to spend time with other girls for 7 hours that day, because that's how long I was probably going around spreading legs. I don't know why, but at that moment it was just like a moment of clarity, and I just replied, okay, blocked him, his family, and all his friends, and just moved on. You know, something I've definitely learned from this thread is that men and women can both be equally crazy. She talked a lot about hating guys being cheap on dates. First date, I take her to a really good sushi place and spend like $120 because I wanted to be nice. She said she would pay for us next time because she was extremely flattered. Second date, she chose the place and she took me to freaking McDonald's. For context, she isn't broke, even paid at least triple of what I get. Like, bro, I don't give a crap where you take me, but what the heck? Why set the bar so high only to immediately ignore it when you have to be even? For clarity, I wanted to go there already, and it was more, she wants expensive and I want an excuse to go here, so F it. Not that I wanted to meet her standards. See, the problem with spending a ton of money on the first date is that you set their expectations way too high. You gotta see how she can handle the bottom, because then you can only go up from there. I was interested in this woman I used to work with many years ago, and the feeling was mutual. We had gone bowling a couple of times, and we had started talking about potentially dating. She said if we date, I expect to be taken out at least twice a week, given gifts at least once a week, and we won't have sex for at least 3 months. Considering we had almost the same work schedule, I had no idea how she thought I was going to pull any of that off. Yeah, I think it's always kind of a red flag if somebody lifts off expectations they have of you. Like, try to be at least a little more subtle. My most recent ex would always ask me random questions, like, what would you do if someone came running towards us right now? Bearing in mind that's pretty vague, I'd answer something like, move out of their way so they can keep running? And she'd say, wrong answer, then get mad at me because she meant to attack us, and I didn't say I'd jump in her way to defend her. And she used to ask all different sorts of very vague questions, and when I'd answer, she'd say, wrong answer, and get mad at me for not answering the way she wanted me to. Got out of there as quickly as I could. Man, I can't tell if these are just getting weirder. She threw a glass at the wall, and full-on Banshee shrieked because I said Kristen Stewart looked hot in Charlie's Angels. Well, I hope you enjoyed all of the dating horror stories, as well as a bunch of dating advice from somebody who hasn't done a whole lot of dating. But anyways, hopefully you're enjoying these new videos again, and if you really want more cat videos, go subscribe to Faye, because I post to that channel pretty much every day.